I left early after I preached. My team was going to hand out turkeys to everybody, but I wanted to get home to my family, so I left early. My security took me out to my car, and I got in the car, and security went in, thought everything was fine, and before I could start my car, this red SUV pulls up, guy jumps out, takes a gun out, and literally probably 10, 15 feet in front of me, pulls a gun out and shoots and unloads the whole clip.
Into your car?
And I lit well, yeah, so over
Oh,
my car. And you know how gangsters do it. He had the gun
right.
like this, that's why they're horrible shots. But so after I cleaned up my
Understandable.
pants from crapping my pants, I did not crap my
I'm
pants,
going to
but
edit it out to make it sure it
I
seemed like you did
probably
crap your
could have.
pants.
But
But
so I yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I crap my pants.
What the hell's going on out here?
everybody, welcome back again to another episode of Fueled by Spite. As I always, like, share, follow. Today we have the honor, nay, the privilege of Pastor Brian Hall. Your and my relationship, as it's gone on, it seems to, if I'm not mistaken, it seems to make more sense as more time passes. But I feel like there's a good number of people out there who would wonder why I have a relationship with a pastor. So, real quick, if you could just actually indulge my audience, if you will, what's your 2 to 4 minute version of your origin story, and then how did you and I end up crossing paths? How did you get to where you are, and how did you get to where we are?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, great questions. So, man, I was a hellion. I was I was a crazy nut. I was a you know how they say, like, if you're a middle child, you're like you just like at the rock middle children are like the people that they just go down the wrong path for some
I've heard
reason.
such
Every
things.
middle child I've
I've
ever met,
known such middle children.
you know, well, right, exactly. And so, and then also I've heard left-handed is weird nowadays. So I'm a middle child and
Oh,
left-handed, so
damn.
I really hit the rock bottom on that one. But yeah, I was a drug addict, an alcoholic, a sex addict, lost everything in bankruptcy. I had a child at a very young age. I had mouth cancer. I OD'd on drugs and then had a heart attack. I was completely rock bottom in my life. Um, this was when I was in my early 20s, and I remember I was laying out in my family's field, and I was born and raised in the church, so I knew Jesus but didn't really know Jesus. I was made to go to church. I was drugged to go to church. Like, they would literally drag me to church 3 or 4 times a week, and so I'm like, so I knew who he was, but I didn't know him. And so I just remember when I finally hit rock bottom. I'm a big believer is that, you don't know that God is all you got until that God
Hmm.
is all you have. And I was in that place in my life. I was at rock bottom. And so I remember laying in this open field, and I think I'd snorted like 23 lines of Coke. And I was laying there, and I just asked God to come into my life. I said, God, if you're for real and you are real, I need you to come into my life. I said, I can't do this on my own anymore. And I said, I don't have anything. I don't have anything left. There's everything that I've tried. It's never worked. And I need you. And then I prayed a bold, audacious prayer. I said, use me and use my story, my message, my testimony to impact your kingdom and to glorify you. And about 3 weeks later, I meet my smoking hot supermodel wife, virgin, seminary degree. God literally, I don't, why he would bless me with such a pure thing is beyond my belief. But I can tell you, it's a picture of what Jesus did. It's a picture of, Jesus dying for all of us all of us are dirty. All of us are sinful. All of us have crazy thoughts. All of us are that. And God said, oh, you know what? I'm going to send my only son to actually die for you so you can have forgiveness and you can have access to God and eternal life. And so I kind of look at my wife sometimes like that. God gave me something so pure and perfect. And she told me the first day she met me, she said, I'm going to marry a pastor. And I said, you're crazy. That's not me. I'm still a hellion. And, look, all these years past now. This is 22. That was 22 years ago. Look at me now. I'm a pastor, and so it started out, man. I went to the middle school. Was a middle school pastor, high school pastor, college and career pastor, associate pastor, executive pastor, lead pastor, senior pastor, and then I started planning churches. Then I started the Cincinnati Dream Center, huge nonprofit, one of the biggest here in Greater Cincinnati, serving tens of thousands of homeless, drug addicts, you name it, we were serving it. And then everything changed 7 years ago. I had a God dream, and God told me that He wanted me to walk away from pastoring the church, walk away from the Dream Center, my nonprofit, and He wanted me to coach, be a spiritual coach, a spiritual advisor, a pastor, and a mentor to influencers, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and CEOs. And I thought he was crazy because at the time I was only coaching 2 Cincinnati Bengals and 3 Cincinnati Reds, and I thought it was a local thing. But here we are, 7 years later, and I've coached over 1,000 of the biggest names in the world, and it just shows the beautiful picture of just trusting God and leaning into it and doing what He was asking me to do. That finally now I wake up every morning and I'm living my dream. I'm doing what God created me and called me to do. How did
The
I meet
grace of
you?
God.
That's yes. So the grace of God. I mean, literally, God gave me a dream and showed me a picture of you. No, that is not how He did it. No, it was. I think it all came down to Sean, and I think BDC, and I think coming into Sean reached out and um, asked for my services and to coach him and on the spiritual side, be a spiritual coach for him. And next thing I know, he was connecting me with lots of people and connecting me at events and just telling people the worth in a spiritual coach. Because I mean, we all have business coaches, we all have health coaches, but I think even what you've learned through you and me working together is it's necessary to have a spiritual coach. There's so much power in it. There's so, it's like, do we want to go doing life our way, or do we actually want to have a higher power doing it His way? Because our way ultimately 99% of the time fails, and we do it the wrong way because we think with our head, and and yeah, but God going His way, you can't go wrong. And there's so many promises in the Bible and so much scripture that talks about, principles and the way we should live our life. And the great thing about a relationship with God is that, God can actually tell you what to do. He can actually say, yes, no, maybe you should take this deal. Maybe you shouldn't take this deal. Maybe you shouldn't go to this meeting. Maybe you should go to I mean, I look at it this way, James, is that, God is the CEO of my life and I'm the president. And if you can put God as the CEO of your life, guess what? That means as the president, you have to run everything through the CEO. And so I have just found that I'm not a good CEO and I might screw life up. But when I run it through God, He makes everything right for me in my life, and I'm super blessed because of it. And so, yeah, man, that was like a very quick elevator speech story. There you go.
this
Okay.
this might be kind of hard for some people, at least on the surface, to wrap their head around. Why would I have a man of God on a program called Fueled by Spite? Um, because if we're talking like Old Testament God, yeah, it's a spiteful, vengeful kind of guy.
Yeah,
New Testament,
that may work. Yeah,
yeah, a lot more palatable.
that's
But
yeah,
one of the things that in all
yeah.
the interviews that we're doing here, um, it seems like, and so far your story is no different. At some point in the life of someone who's successful, whether it be in the entrepreneurial space or as a president or a CEO or just a, I don't mean to say just, but as an employee or something like that. Um, Whatever path
Mhm.
that they're on that's led them to a point of a little higher echelon, if you will, so some sort of degree of success, they're always met with a decision. And I mean, obviously, you talked about the obvious decision, when you're lying on the field. When you're running a gigantic
Yeah.
nonprofit in Cincinnati and
Mhm.
you left that successful thing to go do basically a different, entirely different, just untold venture. I mean, obviously, you had every inkling and
Mhm.
inclination in the world that it was going to be successful, but what was it like to leave the
Mhm.
successful thing and have everybody watch you leave that
Yeah.
successful thing and be like, don't worry, I'm going to go do this other thing and it's going to be successful too. Just watch.
Mm. Horrible. Worst ever. Worst thing you will ever go through. And the thing was is I didn't get to tell you this part is that I didn't leave. And so when he first gave me the dream, to do that, to go do this new endeavor, I didn't listen. And so when I didn't listen, what I did was is, and most people won't. Most people, I mean, because I had the money, I had the brand, I had, I was the face of the organization. I was traveling the country teaching people how to do the same thing I was doing. Life was great. And so, and for me, I felt like I built it with blood, sweat, and tears. And that was my first problem, is
Hmm.
I felt like I built it. And it was never I built anything, it was God. And so I didn't listen at first when he told me to do it. I remember I was preaching a Thanksgiving, the worst area of Cincinnati, deaths every night, murders, and and I'm preaching this Thanksgiving message, and I left. I left early after I preached. My team was going to hand out turkeys to everybody, but I wanted to get home to my family, so I left early. My security took me out to my car, and I got in the car, and security went in, thought everything was fine. And before I could start my car, this red SUV pulls up, guy jumps out, takes a gun out, and literally probably 10, 15 feet in front of me, pulls a gun out and shoots and unloads the whole clip.
Into your car?
And well, yeah, so over
Oh,
my car. And you know how gangsters do it. He had the gun
right.
like this. That's why they're horrible shots. But so after I cleaned up my
Understandable.
pants from crapping my pants, I did not crap my
I'm
pants.
going to
But
edit it out to make it
I
sure it
I
seemed like you did
probably
crap your
could have.
pants.
But
But no.
so I yeah, like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I crap my pants.
Perfect.
There you go. Use that. And so I get out of the guy jumps in his car and he leaves, and I'm in this daze, and I get out of the car, and this guy didn't hit me. He didn't hit my car, and he was trying to kill the guy on the other side of my car, hiding underneath my car. And I looked at it like this. I was like, okay, God, you didn't hurt me here, but you definitely have my attention. Is this you telling me, like, you need to listen? You need to listen to what I'm telling you. I'm telling you to walk away from it. And the thing is like, what I've learned is you can't run away from God. You cannot run away from your destiny. If God has called you to do something, and you can't run fast enough, you can't run far enough, that it will bother you, it will haunt you, it'll keep you up at night, and that's what it did for me. And so next thing, I after this happens, I did what anybody would do. I didn't listen again. And so me and my wife, we did CrossFit, and so we loved fitness, we loved working out hard, and one day I came home from some heavy deadlifts, and I told my wife that my back was extremely hurting, and she said, "Hey, you're doing deadlifts, you're going to be fine, just sleep it off." And this is going to be
You
really
shit your pants
disgusting,
again?
but your viewers will probably love it. So here you go. And so, yeah, it was worse than that. And so I go to bed. I wake up in the middle of the night in excruciating pain that literally, brother, I don't wish it upon my enemies. And I get rushed to the hospital, and once I get to the hospital, they tell me that I have an abscess the size of a softball inside of my rectum. Yeah, and that it will be the worst pain that I will ever feel, and that the surgery is crazy, and the healing
Hmm.
process is I will be bedridden for 3 months. And so after I'm laying in bed for 3 months, watching every movie on Netflix and Prime and every show, just so I didn't have to talk to God, because I was pissed off at God. I was so mad at God that He took this from me. This is where I found out that God's plan A is humility and God's plan B is humiliation. And now I was in the humiliation point of my life where God was going to get me where He wanted me, and I was going to listen. And so as I sat there for 3 months not talking to God, finally I got to the point the last week where I cried out and I said, God, I'll never not listen to you ever again. You tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it with all my heart and all my power. And that was the day that I started coaching full time, and doing what I'm doing today full time. This is what I do. I get to travel the globe and,
Damn.
and, and do
Yeah,
exactly
that
this.
that hasn't come up on our other calls, Brian. um, good. So like, why was there a guy under your car?
I still to this day I don't know why he was.
Fair.
We're talking about the ghetto of Cincinnati, Lower Price Hill. So this is
Man.
seriously murders every day. I mean, it's that bad. And so, I mean, yeah, it was. I mean, it was so fast. I mean, guy jumped. I'll never forget. It was a red SUV. Dude jumped. There was a passenger in the other side. I saw. But thank God the guy didn't see me. He didn't. The guy that was shooting did not see me, which is
Yep.
praise God, because I think if he did,
Can't
he would
have
have
a
shot
witness.
me.
Goddamn. Um, say goddamn to a pastor? Yeah, that just happened.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, sure did.
You did.
God.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Lord forgive him.
Shit. You gave me a wonderful segue into the next question. To go into something that's so completely new for you, like on an individual basis. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously you've been, advising, the congregation, the masses, if you will. But to go more
Yeah.
from just a one-on-one kind of thing, coming from a
Mhm.
a guy who's raised Catholic, and if I want some spiritual advising, I just got to go to the
Mhm.
confessional and this, that, and the other. Like
Mhm.
it seems like you almost
Yeah.
just stumbled into, or were guided into. That's a better way to put it. Into a kind of a find a way, make a way. So God called you to do
Yeah.
this advising.
Mhm.
How do you get to where you
Mhm.
are? Like how do you become an advisor to such
Well,
influential people, as opposed to someone who's told to go to confession?
I think that's a really good question. I think for me is when we think of the church, or we think of like what you said, I could just go to the church house, or I could go to the confession, or whatnot. I think we have a lot of preachers, but not enough pastors. There's a difference between a preacher and a pastor. So a preacher, we have tons of preachers that want to get up on a platform. They want the mic. They want to speak. They want to build their brand. But there's nothing in the Bible that talks about, hey, go be a preacher and just speak, and not. He talks more about a pastor. He talks about, you know, shepherding the sheep, like being the shepherd. And so I think people, what I have found in my journey is that people need someone to do life with them. They need someone to walk with them. For me specifically, I always wanted to talk to the pastor. I wanted to talk to the preacher. I loved the stuff that he would say on the pulpit, and I just wanted to learn from him, and I just wanted to grow because he's telling me up on the pulpit like, "Hey, the most important thing is God, and and this is the Bible, and like you should learn and learn and learn and grow and be like Him, because guess what? He literally scared the hell out of me. He was like, "Hey, if you don't believe in this and you don't believe in Him, you're going to hell, and if you do, then you're not." And I'm like, "Well, sign me up for the heaven because I don't want to go to hell." And I'm like, and so, but I wanted, because he was untouchable. He was a preacher. He was a celebrity preacher, and I wanted a pastor. I needed someone to do life with me, and I wanted them to mentor me, and so I I wanted to be that for other people, and I found that that's what people needed, and so I was like, how can I advise people and coach people? How can I do life with people and walk with people? Like, it's just like with you, James. Like, it doesn't matter if you're in a valley moment. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to hold your hand. I'm going to build you up. I'm going to walk with you through the valley moment. And guess what? When you're on the mountaintop, your mountaintop moment, I'm going to be there as well, but I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader, cheering you on when you're in that moment. But life is ups and downs, and the thing is how great would it be to have people in your life that would walk with you and be there with you through the ups and downs, and then actually giving you the tools that you need, that say, hey, this is what Jesus says, this is what God says about the downs, this is what God says about the ups, but also having someone in your life saying, like you could call me and be like, hey, Brian, I'm anxious today. Can you tell me what the Bible says about it? Like, I need some help. I need a promise. I need a miracle. I need something because I am anxious. I am depressed. I am worried. I'm whatever. And so it's just walking people through that. And it's, yeah, I didn't think it was a thing, but it has become a thing. And so it's been great.
It's interesting that you bring that part up about the valleys and the mountaintops, because in a lot of respects, that's where this podcast in and of itself came from. Was as as you start to ascend, either people don't come with you for multiple reasons. Either A,
Mhm.
they're comfortable where they are, or B,
Mhm.
they're uncomfortable seeing you go up and they try and pull
Yeah.
you back down. So I mean, that's
Yeah.
it's interesting that you talked about, being with someone, shepherding someone, both in the
Mhm.
valleys and the mountaintops, because that's again where some of the spite comes
Yeah.
from, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, it's necessary, and the thing is that the valleys and the mountaintops are necessary in our life.
Yeah, dude, but
We
the
have to
valleys
have
suck,
those.
man.
The valleys suck. They're horrible. They do. But, I always tell people it's like, you know, you have to grow through those. I never tell God, I've never prayed to God, God, take away this valley. I say, God, get me through this valley. Teach me through this valley.
Rapid fire questions for Pastor Brian Hall.
Let's do it.
And I want Brian's answer.
Okay.
I don't want Pastor Brian's answer because some of these lend themselves to really easy
Okay.
religious responses. Um, Person you trade places with for a day, and you can't say God and Jesus.
I don't know. I would say maybe like Elon Musk or something. I think it'd be cool to just go through what he goes through in a day.
What's the worst advice you've ever gotten?
That that your suffering is that your suffering is easy. Actually, yeah, someone told me that once, that my suffering is easy.
Is that person still in your life? Smart.
No, absolutely not.
What's the best compliment you've ever been given?
That I look
Nobody
like
has
Vin
ever
Diesel.
said that to me.
Yes, they have multiple times. I still get it today. People say I look like Vin Diesel, and my wife says they're crazy
Your
because
wife's
I
a
don't.
smart woman.
I'll receive it.
What's ooh, this
She
this
is.
should be a
Yeah,
decent
she
one.
is. She is.
What's an idea that you think most people get wrong?
What true love means.
Interesting. You care to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think people. I think in a world today we see people that think love is we put it in the same picture of
Uh,
beauty. And so that's why you see divorce rates happening. Like most people don't get past 3 years of being married. And it's getting worse and worse. I mean, over the years, because I think people are fascinated and they think looks is love. Like love is different. Like love is like, if I could bring it back
I would expect
spiritually,
nothing less.
love is like right. Like Jesus saying, what love is that one would lay down their life for another. Like that's love. Like, and so if you feel that way about your wife or your husband, then it doesn't matter what that person does to you. Like there's forgiveness, there's grace, there's peace, there's mercy. Like that's true love. Like I would literally die for my wife and kids right now. God, take me, let them live. Like that's love. And can you have that type of relationship with not just your wife and kids, but could you have that relationship with others, with other people as well, that you would lay down your life? Because Jesus ultimately did that for all of humanity. And so I think people struggle with what love truly is. I think even today, when I counsel people that aren't married, they're like, well, should I marry this person? And I'm like, well, and they're like, I love him. And I'm like, would you die
Hmm.
for him? Would you like, well, heck no, I wouldn't die. And
Yeah,
I'm like, you probably shouldn't marry him. That's not true love. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't expect an answer in that vein. Um, Last one. What's a question that
Yeah.
you wished I would have asked you?
Why should people hire me as their
Okay,
coach?
Brian. One more question. I lied. Why should people hire you as their coach?
Because actually, I don't think I know from coaching some of I will honestly say the craziest people on the planet. And James is one of them, by the way. Make sure you record that. Nah, James, you're an amazing dude. But, some of the literally atheist people that hate God. I've seen them, or don't believe, or and they've come to me and just said, "Hey, I have this void in my life." Like literally, the wealthiest people in the world, the most successful people in the world, I've coached, and they come to me and they're like, "I have this void in my heart, and I have all the money. I can do whatever I want. I can buy whatever I want, but I'm not happy." And there's this void, and the thing is like that void. I already know what it is. And I know that if they were to work with me and I was able to fill that void with Jesus and with the Spirit of God and with what God says about who they are, and I give that to them, I know that void will be filled. And I've seen it personally in these people's lives, and they're the happiest people in the world now because that void is filled. And because money will never satisfy you. Money will never satisfy. It may satisfy you in a moment, but it will never fill the void. It's just like, you know, the new iPhone 15 is out. Oh my gosh, like everybody has to have it, right? Like we can't wait to get it. Like it's the most amazing thing in the world. Oh my Lord. And then you get your money and you go and you buy the iPhone 15 and you get home and you get everything downloaded and you're happy for an hour, maybe 2 hours, and then guess what? The void's there again. And this constant, you can buy a boat, you can buy 6 houses, you can buy all the things in the world, you can have 10 wives, whatever you want, concubines, all of the above, and if you still will have this void, and that void is Jesus. And so I believe when people realize that, yeah, business coaches are necessary, health coaches are necessary, all those things are necessary, but the most important thing in your life is a spiritual coach. Because guess what, there's a statistic that I'm going to give you that's 100%. You are going to die, period. You're going to die. And so and so if that's going to happen in your life, what's the most important thing that you should probably nail down, as you would say it, nail down to the Catholic priest is, you should probably, learn about this guy that died for you and wants you to come and have full access to him and then have eternity in heaven, the Bible says, where you'll live the rest of eternity, your whole life. And so, you know, that's what matters to me, and I think that should matter to everyone. And I think, you know, you'll see your life elevate if you can grab onto that. So, thanks for asking the questions, man. Great questions today.
I'm going to take full credit for that last question. So where can people find you?
So, I'm a big raw and real type of guy. I don't have, a website. I don't do all that stuff. You're not going to see the glamour and the glitter. I'm just a raw and real type of guy. My big thing is I've never had to do funnels. I've never had to do ads. I've never had to do that stuff. I've been blessed that it's been word of mouth through me, through just the type of people that I coach, and they just talk and they're like, hey, this has changed our lives and you should call Brian and you should reach out to Brian. So, yeah, to reach out to me, I would go to my Instagram, just Brian Hall, Brian Hall, Hall, and you'll find me, add me, and if you need anything or you need prayer or you're looking for something, like you have a void maybe, or you're looking for a spiritual coach or a spiritual advisor, a pastor, or a mentor to do life with you, reach out, send me a message, and I'll get back with you, and we'll see
Dude,
where
that's
we
what
can take
I
this
haven't
journey.
thought about it in months, but I literally think I think I shot you a message on Instagram. Probably.
I think you did. I think you did.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I think you did. And that's the thing is James is and the crazy thing about it is what people don't know is that, they may look at you and they may think, wow, he's rough around the edges, he's this and that. But the one thing that I know about you is you have an amazing heart. And I know that you love the Lord. And I know that God is moving in your life and elevating you. And I've seen it. And ever since I started working with you from start to now, is you've come so far and you've opened up so much, and God is moving in your life and elevating you, and I truly believe for you and your wife, and I've told you this before, 2024 is going to be a breakthrough year for you that you've never seen or even thought
Man, I
of.
appreciate
So
that. And hell, if I can do that without a single bullet flying over my head, it's going to be a good day.
that's right.
Yeah, right.
Or an
Or an abscess
abscess
in
in
my
your butt.
ass.
So that, yeah, you don't want that
Man,
either.
shit. I mean, if that's not a good note to end on, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Brian, dude, I appreciate
That's right.
actually
That's
going
right.
back to our previous calls. I appreciate your time, but I also appreciate you. And to everybody watching, again, like, share, follow. I appreciate each and every one of you guys checking in on this. So we've said this every single time. The spirituality, I mean, this is it's kind of a tough subject. It seems like it's tougher and tougher as more and more time passes. But it really just falls into you're in one of two camps. Either you're an idiot or you're uninformed. And at least now you could say that you're no longer uninformed. Brian, I'm not sure if you're aware, but that's a James Taylor original. I'm taking 100% credit for that. You've heard that nowhere else. But again, man, I appreciate you.
That's
Brian,
right.
I
That's
appreciate
right.
your time. Everyone watching, thank you very much. Another episode of Fueled by Spite. Dr. James Taylor, Brian Hall, Pastor Brian Hall. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks, man.